this brand new bag of potting mix. Is it safe to use straight out of the bag without sterilizing it? Do you think there's any fungus gnats in it? I don't know. Let's find out. Hi plant people, I hope you are having the most awesome day. So I started sterilizing my potting mix because fungus gnats had taken up residence in my home along with their brothers and their sisters and all of their cousins. It was a fierce battle, but I won, and I'm going to do a video on that pretty soon. But I wanted to show you the quickest and easiest way to sterilize your potting mix, and that is in a microwave. And then later I'm going to tell you 4 other ways that you can sterilize the soil without using a microwave if you don't have access to. Of course, we want to start with a microwave safe container to put our potting mix in. This mix I'm using is a little bit dry, but I'm going to fix that later. When you buy a new bag, you should be fairly safe that there's not going to be any fungus gnats in there, but there could be a little tiny hole, the bag could be torn, and you might not even see that, but stuff can get in those little holes, and these fungus gnats are little teeny tiny little things. But even the same with a bag that says it's sterilized on it, you just never know, and there's no 100% guarantee that there's not going to be any fungus gnats in there. And I'm really paranoid now. I do not want these fungus gnats back because they are pain in the butt, so I'm not taking any chances, and sterilizing my potting mix before I start any seeds is number one on my routine now. We don't want to start out with our potting mix dry, so I'm adding some water here to moisten it to a consistency of where when I squeeze it in my hands, the little bit of water will run out between my fingers, but it will still hold together. Now, if you've been storing potting mix outside over winter time and you think that the freezing is going to take care of any bad stuff in there, I have something really interesting to tell you. So freezing will kill the eggs and the larvae of the fungus gnats, but only the body of the adult. Their heads don't freeze. And they did a scientific study in Alaska, and they froze the fungus gnats down to a minus 25 degrees Fahrenheit. Let me say that again, minus 25 degrees. Guess what? 70% of those fungus gnats were alive. They came back to life. 70% of them. I find that absolutely just crazy. I'm pulling the soil to the sides to make a little indentation in the middle because it takes longer for the soil in the middle to heat up. And I want to make sure that every bit of the soil reaches the correct temperature, which is a minimum of 180 degrees. So for a 1200 watt microwave, it's recommended that you do 1.5 minutes per pound, so 90 seconds. Mine is only 1150 watts, so I'm going to do 2 minutes. So for this bowl, it's 10 minutes total. I recommend that the first time you sterilize potting mix in your microwave that you do a temperature test to see how your microwave actually performs. First initial reading after I took mine out, the middle was only 169 degrees. So I'm going to stir it up, and then I'm going to test the temperature again. 175, 181, 178. So the point I'm trying to make here is that the soil temperature isn't consistently 180 or more. So I'm stirring it up, and then I'm going to put it back in the microwave for a couple more minutes. After I took my bowl out for the second time, I checked the temperature again, and it was all reading at least 180 degrees everywhere. So then you have to let it completely cool off before you can use it. And then when it's cooled off, if you're not going to use it right away, then go ahead and put a lid on top of it. Now, another way to do this would be to put it in a plastic baggie, maybe like a gallon-sized baggie if you want to do that small amount. They even have 2 gallon-sized baggies. And then that way you let it cool off and seal it shut, and you're good to go there, and you do have a really good seal that way. So let's do a little recap. Microwave safe container, plastic bag or plastic bag, 1.5 minutes or 90 seconds for every pound of soil, and that's for a 1200 watt microwave oven. Sometimes you can see your label will be right inside of the oven door, and you can see how much wattage your microwave is. So if it's less than 1200, go a little bit longer on the cooking. And then make sure you completely cool it off, and then if you're not going to use it right away, seal it shut. And that's how there is to it. Now we're going to go on to the next easiest method, which is putting it in the oven. Of course, use a microwave safe container, put it in the oven, and you need to set your oven temperature at least 180 degrees, and it needs to stay in there for at least 30 minutes. Very simple. It's less hands-on, I think, because you're not constantly checking it, and leaving it in for 30 minutes gets you that temperature all the way through. You still have to let it cool off before you can use it. The third way to sterilize potting mix is with boiling water. It requires a little bit more equipment and just a little more hands-on time for you. You just need to put your potting mix into some kind of bag or sieve. I've used a jelly bag here, and then you put it down in a pot and then pour the boiling water over top of that. You want to make sure that every single inch of that potting mix is saturated with that boiling water. So depending on how much potting soil you're going to use, depends on how much water you need to boil and how big of a pot that you need to have to pour it into. So our last method of sterilizing your potting mix is with hydrogen peroxide. You want to use 3%, and that's usually what you'll find in the little brown bottles at the store. I buy mine on Amazon in the gallon jug because it's much more economical that way. So what we're going to do is put the potting mix into a bag. This is a jelly bag, and put it into a pot, and then you want to mix half a cup of hydrogen peroxide to a full gallon of water. And of course adjust that if you don't need that much. And then I cover it up and I leave it sit overnight, and that's all there is to it. So that's 4 different ways that you can sterilize potting mix at home, very easily and fast and cheap. And if you have any questions, let me know down in the comments. And if you've made it this far, thank you so much for watching.